Hello and welcome to the topic on digital evidence preservation and chain of custody. This topic is very essential for law enforcement agencies and also for the law students to understand the handling of digital evidence from the collection point to the courtroom and how to ensure the integrity of the digital evidence. First, let us understand what is a digital evidence and how it is different from the traditional physical evidence. It is very essential to understand the properties of the digital evidence so that we handle the digital evidence very carefully and ensure the admissibility in legal proceedings. To keep it very simple, digital evidence is very fragile, replicable, it can get easily altered. The integrity requirement is also there, and the jurisdictional dependency is very essential. To understand this in more details, why we call it fragile is because digital evidence is susceptible to changes. It can easily destroyed, it can get affected with atmospheric factors, it can get copied. So the original and the duplicate, it becomes very difficult to distinguish between them. Hence, we use what is called as hashing. It can get easily altered. I can write, I can rewrite. Apps get auto sync to clouds, etc. So the timestamps change. Hence, we require what is called as integrity requirement, which is verified using what is called as mathematical algorithms of MD5 and SHA-256, nothing but hashing. Before we go into the collection and the nature of digital evidences, we'll try to understand what are the principles in recovery of the digital evidence. The Association of Chief Police Officers has issued a good practice guide for digital evidence. And these are the four major points in which is followed all across the world in handling of digital evidences and its collection. The first most important thing is whenever the forensic investigator is trying to act on a digital evidence, it should be in such a way that my actions should not result in damaging the evidence. Second, whatever I do, I try to avoid acting on the originals so that as far as possible, the original is kept intact. And in case if I'm trying to act on an original or whatever actions I'm taking on a copy also, there should be a recorded audit trail so that whoever does an independent third party audit will also get the same result. And it is the responsibility of the overall investigating officer to ensure all these principles. So if we try to understand what are the kinds of digital evidences which we see commonly, broadly understanding, we can categorize them into four parts. One is a device level digital evidences, which can be like mobile phones, laptops, desktops, tablets, hard drives, etc., and DVR, NVR, pen drives, etc. Network level digital evidences include logs. Then we have what are called as NAT logs, DHCP records, call records, IPDR records, then location records, etc. Then there's cloud storage and cloud evidences, wherein most of the application data nowadays is seen on clouds, like all our emails, then all your chat apps, etc., online storage media, online social media accounts, etc. Everything is now online. So these are all cloud evidences. And the third party evidence is the evidence which we try to obtain from the third party agencies like banks, UPIs, payment gateways, then crypto exchanges, wherever a third party is involved. So how do I categorize the collection of digital evidence? For our simple understanding, I try to cover this into three different parts. One is the preparation phase, the other one is the execution phase, and the third one is the seizure phase. So first, we'll try to understand what is the preparation phase. In preparation phases, the most important one is the planning, then the identification of evidence destination, and the equipment preparation. To understand this, if I'm going to a scene of crime or if I'm trying to handle a digital evidence, first I should know what I'm doing. There should be a comprehensive plan to understand, and also legal approach should be there, wherein a necessary warrants should be ready. The teams should be ready. Who will handle what kind of devices? Who will do the photography? Who will do the videography? Who will do the documentation? All this homework has to be prepared. And I also should be ready with the kind of devices which I might encounter in a particular scene of crime. For example, if I'm on a road, I might get CCTV cameras. I might get other digital evidences. But if I'm in a server farm, then the kind of digital evidences which are available there and the digital devices which I need to handle will be very different. So I also need to understand where and how I will copy or carry the evidence. That is what is called as evidence destination. So where will I copy it? If I'm finding a sandbox of 40 TB storage or a laptop of 1 TB storage, there is a lot of difference in handling these two devices because the storage complications are very different. So based on all these factors, my equipment should be ready. So how do I carry my equipment? What kind of tools I will carry? How will I handle those devices? Where will I copy them? What are the requirements which I need to have? What is the protective measures which I need to take care while handling? This is very important. After this is done, the most important thing is the identification of the evidence, wherein digital evidence needs to be identified, what needs to be picked up, what can be avoided, what all can be done. Because once the scene of crime after we handle is disturbed, the evidence gets tampered and you no longer can get the correct evidences. So the first approach, you have only one chance and that chance has to be done perfectly. So you need to map the entire crime pattern, understand the offense, how it has happened. Then you need to identify the endpoints, that is the devices, the apps, or whatever is involved in that. Then do a triage. Triage is the prioritization of the evidence. What should be collected first and what can come later? So this is what we call as triage, which is prioritization. And in that, we prioritize the volatile data. Volatile is what gets lost with the loss of power or over time. So we try to prioritize them because they get lost first. So login sessions, the chats on the screen, the browser histories, the RAM data, all these are some examples of volatile data. Coming to the execution phase of phase two, wherein now the first step is to secure the scene of crime. And then I establish a perimeter and try to control the access. Only authorized persons are allowed to come inside. This is to prevent tampering. Then I do a physical assessment of the area, try to understand what all are available. If you take a room, I might find IoT devices, I might find CCTV cameras, I might find network routers, network logs, then mobile phones, pen drives, laptops, computers, etc. So based on what I'm finding and what should be collected first, I'll try to do an assessment. Then based on this assessment, I start my process. The first step is to document the entire scene of crime, doing a broad photography, then getting inside the area, then covering all the aspects of the photography and the videography, the creation of a detailed note of what is found there. So the identification becomes very, very critical because you have only one chance. Now devices come in all forms and shapes and designs. Many devices are also not visible as a pen drive or as a USB drive on the face of it. Sometimes we tend to oversee them or miss them. So these are some common things which are seen there, which is a knife, which is also a pen drive. So all these things need to be understood. The next stage is to triage. Now, triage becomes very, very essential. It is, if you don't do your triage properly, that is where you tamper or you tend to lose your evidences. Because there are destructive programs which can be destroyed using anti-forensic techniques. Then there can be network connections which can be active. Active network connections can also result a threat actor from accessing your evidences from outside. Then there can be remote access through these network connections. Then there'll be user privileges, which you may not be having access to. The user may not have admin access, so you would not have access to certain details in the evidences. If the device is encrypted using BitLocker or DriveCrypt, BlueCrypt, etc., whether that is available or not, and what are the power settings which are available here. So these are some things which need to be understood. And based on all these points, a decision must be arrived by the investigating officer to understand his approach and decide his approach, thereby mitigating the potential risks that could compromise or destroy your digital evidence. So now let us understand how do we handle a computer system. Basically, the computer can be found in three different states. One is an off state, one is the on state, and one is the sleep or standby mode. So if it is on, what I should do? If the computer is on, then the most essential thing is RAM. The volatile data, RAM is containing data. And if I power it off, the RAM would lose its data because RAM is a volatile memory. So your response must be immediate, methodical, and precise. You should understand how to collect this RAM dump and where do you store this RAM dump. You cannot store the RAM dump onto the device itself because the device gets tampered. The hard disk, because you're storing on the hard disk of the computer itself, the timestamp and all the data gets tampered. So whatever you do, all your actions need to be recorded very, very carefully. So this is the flow of the procedure which we follow when the computer is on. So first I try to visually document what is visible on the screen. what are the dates, etc., etc., on the desktop which are visible, what are the windows which were open, how is the screenshot, how is the screensaver, etc. All these are recorded. Then I try to capture the system information. For this, I can run certain programs like WinAudit or etc. to understand what programs are running, how many users are there, etc. Then the third state is to preserve the power state, which it can be on, off, or shutdown mode. Based on this power state, I try to preserve it, and then I do my data acquisition, which can be in a sequential form. If it is on, I go with the volatile data acquisition first. Then I also collect the network data collection, wherein IP numbers, the ARP cache, the routing tables, etc., are collected. The MAC data is also collected. Then there are other media, which is removable medias, like there can be DVDs, CVDs, pen drives, and other things which can be removable and then stored. Then I follow certain protocol for shutting down the computer, shut down, remove the cables, and also unpack the hard disks, etc., and pack them properly. If it is a laptop, then I need to also handle the laptop battery because laptop has an inbuilt battery inside it. RAM, as I discussed, contains data with relation to network connections, process informations, etc. What are the processes which you're running? Credentials, RAM is also stores your passwords and authentication tokens, which is very, very essential for the investigating officer to access sessions later. Encryption keys are also available and open files are also stored. We can use certain tools like FTK Imager, etc., to capture the RAM in a forensically sound manner. And this gives us lots of information which is very, very critical in the course of investigations. Now we'll try to understand how do we make a copy of the hard disk. There are two techniques. One is imaging and cloning. We'll try to fundamentally understand the difference between imaging and a cloning. As the name suggests, image will make an image wherein a bit by bit archival copy is created. The entire hard disk is made as an image. The major difference here is the output is an image file. It is a file, it is not a disk. The output is an image file. Disk cloning is also sector by sector copy of the entire hard disk. But the difference is the output is the clone itself, that is the hard disk itself. So if you have a 1 TB hard disk and you need to make a copy of it, you can, but this 1 TB can have a 400 GB data or something. But if you do a disk image, you will get a file. But if you do a disk cloning, you get the entire hard disk as a second component. What is very essential practice, which needs to be done, is a meticulous documentation. And this is just not a practice, and this is the most important step in any evidence collection. Everything has to be documented. Every action, observation, and decision made by the investigating officer with full details should be written down in document because it has to withstand the legal scrutiny so that it can ensure reproducibility, as we have discussed in the ACPO guidelines. So, contemporaneous note taking is very, very essential. And without this, the integrity of the evidence itself would get questioned. So some checklist for the documentation part is the device details needs to be written down. The owner details need to be written down. Who is the owner? Who is the user? What is this relationship with the investigation, etc. Then we write down the OS, what we are seeing, the version, build information, patch level, etc. Then what are the hardwares which we are finding there, model numbers, serial numbers, etc. Then we write the date, timestamps, etc. Because sometimes the system dates may be different from the actual date from what you're doing. Then we write about the encryption status, encrypted, not encrypted. Then it can be network configuration details which are written down, like wired, wireless connectivity, IP addresses, etc. Then we write about tool documentation, names, versions, licensing, etc. What are the tools I'm using, whether it is installed or running from my device. Then there is a procedural narrative which is explained point by point. And we also write about the algorithm which we are using to verify the data integrity. So that was about the phase two part. Now coming to the phase three part is where we secure the physical evidence and we try to seize and pack and send it. So this is the phase three part. The first thing is to the Seizure memo and the forwarding note, which is very essential, where I write everything in detail. I make a detailed inventory of what I've seized, including complete descriptions, serial numbers, etc., and condition of the time on serial. Then I make a forwarding note to the forensics lab or to the court with the specific details of what I want, etc., which are written down. Seizure memo is something like this, as you can see on the screen, with certain details of data, device details, etc., which are available uh, on the seizure memos. Packing becomes very essential because this is where the data integrity is ensured till the forensic lab and till the courtroom. So I need to also ensure the packing is safe enough. So we protect it with the magnetic media. Anti-static wrap and bubble wraps are used to ensure the data is kept safe inside the hard disk and magnetic storage devices. And we try to handle them with care so that there are no scratches, etc., on the CDs or the DVDs, and everything is stored very, very carefully. These are some essential package material which are used. Evidence seals, the labeling of evidences, etc., is very essential. This is on the whole how we handle the digital evidences by ensuring the integrity of the device and the data inside it. Transportation also becomes very important. How do I transport? Because the environmental and conditions can also affect the data inside. Moisture, humidity, extreme heats and pressures need to be avoided, and electromagnetic safety conditions should also be ensured. I hope you had a brief overview on the handling of the digital evidence. Thank you so much.